Hi YouTube! A couple of videos ago I talked about the movement state machine that I've created for my game. This time I've got some bug fixes and improvements to show you. Something is wrong with my wall running. Sometimes the player slides away from the wall or fails to stick to the wall, and sometimes the player is completely stuck. It seems like the sweep normals are incorrect, as you can see by the red line in this clip. I decided to try and print all the hit normals and the interpolated normal too, shown as green and blue in this clip. I had a tough time figuring out what was wrong, but when I started debugging the sweep shape, the issue became obvious. I've forgotten to rotate the sweep shape. So let's fix it. And now it's much more stable, although some of the box collisions still cause inconsistencies. The ground snapping is a bit too aggressive and will snap the player to the ground as soon as the ground is within range. This is obvious in the snapping that occurs in this clip when the player is about to land after a jump or when stepping off a ledge. I would like for the ground snapping to only be applied once the player is already standing on the ground. To do this, I'll have to check for ground in on-begin contact for the player and only do the snapping if on ground. And now it feels much better. One of the abilities that the player should have is the classic double jump, but it's not as simple as just counting the number of jumps. A jump while on ground should be considered a ground jump and should always be possible. Jumping while in air are considered air jumps. A double jump in this case would mean that the player first does a ground jump and then one air jump. And this is just what I've added, with the possibility of having any number of air jumps. When on a wall, the player should be able to jump off the wall. Doing this should give the player a small boost in the direction of the wall normal. I think this small boost will make the wall jump feel a lot more satisfying. Currently, the wall jump looks like this, and with the boost, it looks like this. Coyote time is a must-have in any movement-focused game. Let's implement it. Basically, for a short duration after leaving ground, the player should still be able to do a ground jump. I will store a timestamp for when last on ground and compare that when checking the ground jump conditions. I took the opportunity to implement the same kind of coyote time for wall jumps, which helps a lot. It's really hard to show this in a video, but I think it feels pretty good when playing. Another common feature for movement-focused games is vaulting. Vaulting, in this context, is the ability to quickly jump over small ledges. The challenge with vaulting is in detecting the ledges. My approach is based on two sweeps. The first sweep starts right above the player head and is in the direction of the player input. This sweep is done to determine if there is a suitable space for the player to vault into. If there is no space, no vault will be performed. The second sweep starts at the end of the first sweep and goes straight downward. This sweep will find the Y coordinate for the potential ledge, and this is used to determine height of the vault. If no ledge is found, no vault will be performed. If a ledge is found, the player will be moved vertically until above the ledge. While in the vault, the player can still move around using air movement. A small detail that I want to mention is that I decided to make the vaulting based on the input direction, and to allow vaulting in any direction. This means that the player could vault over an edge while moving backwards. It sounds a bit strange, but I think it feels pretty good. It's not nice to force the player to remain in the vault until it's finished. To prevent this, there are conditions for staying in the vault. First off, there must be player input. Secondly, the input direction should be roughly the same as the original input direction when entering the sweep. And this is the result when vaulting over a small ledge and when jumping into a vault. There is one big downside to this vaulting technique that I've decided to use. It is currently possible for the player to vault into a space where the player collider does not fit. This might cause the player to get stuck. But this is not something that I'm gonna fix today. The game is still not very presentable, with only white cubes and no juice. But I think the movement feels good for what it is. I'm excited to juice it up in future milestones. If you would like to stick around for that, consider subscribing. And thanks for watching. Bye bye.